Before the age of social media and CGI, these men ruled Hollywood with just a smile, a suit, and a look that made millions swoon. From smoldering glances to effortless elegance, they were the definition of charm. But what made them truly unforgettable? Let's step back into the golden age and meet the icons who turned heads, broke hearts, and became legends forever. Tyrone Power. With a face sculpted like a classic statue and eyes that could melt the coldest heart, Tyrone Power wasn't just a leading man, he was the ultimate fantasy. In the 1930s and 40s, his on-screen presence blended dashing good looks with quiet intensity, making him one of Hollywood's most sought-after stars. Whether he was fencing his way through swashbuckling adventures like The Mark of Zorro, or delivering emotional depth in dramas like The Razor's Edge, Power's charm wasn't just about appearance, it was about magnetism. Women adored him, men admired him, and studios built entire films around his charisma. But beyond the spotlight, Tyrone carried a mysterious edge, a private soul who went to war, flying missions in World War II, then returned to Hollywood with a quiet heroism that deepened his allure. He was elegance without arrogance, charm without effort, and intensity without theatrics. In a town filled with stars, Tyrone Power stood out not just because he was beautiful, but because he made charm feel timeless. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn was the very definition of adventure and allure, a man whose charm could outshine even the wildest sword fights he starred in. With that signature grin, devil-may-care attitude, and a swagger that felt born for the big screen, Flynn wasn't just an actor, he was a legend in motion. From Captain Blood to the adventures of Robin Hood, he became Hollywood's go-to hero, swinging from ropes, rescuing damsels, and outwitting villains with effortless flair. But his real magic? It wasn't just in the action, it was in the way he made every moment feel electrifying. Flynn's on-screen presence was both rugged and refined, the bad boy you couldn't help but fall for. Off-screen, his notorious lifestyle of wild romances and reckless charm only fueled his myth. Yet beneath the scandal and spectacle was a performer who knew exactly how to hold an audience captive, with just a wink or a word. Errol Flynn didn't just play the charming rogue, he was the charming rogue, and Hollywood never forgot it. Gary Cooper. Gary Cooper didn't need loud words or grand gestures to captivate an audience. His charm was in his stillness, his sincerity, and that quiet, all-American magnetism that made him unforgettable. With his tall frame, gentle voice, and eyes that held stories deeper than dialogue, Cooper brought a rugged elegance to every role. Whether playing a stoic marshal in High Noon or a lovable underdog in Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, he portrayed men of few words but deep principles. That calm confidence, paired with his natural humility, made him irresistibly genuine, something rare in a town built on illusion. On screen, he was the man every woman trusted and every man respected. Off-screen, his modesty and quiet demeanor only amplified his appeal. Cooper wasn't flashy or theatrical, and that was his power. He let his presence speak louder than any script. In a golden age filled with charmers, Gary Cooper was the one who didn't have to try. He simply was. Unshakable, noble, and effortlessly charismatic, the kind of charm that never goes out of style. Rudolph Valentino. Long before sound ever reached the silver screen, Rudolph Valentino had already made millions fall in love, with just a look. Known as the original Latin lover, Valentino wasn't just Hollywood's first heartthrob, he was a cultural phenomenon. In silent films like The Sheik and Blood and Sand, he radiated sensuality, mystery, and exotic appeal that no actor before him had dared to embrace. With his smoldering gaze, graceful movements, and magnetic energy, Valentino became the epitome of romantic fantasy in the 1920s. Women fainted at his premieres, men envied his allure, and the world simply couldn't get enough. But beneath the fame was a man torn between tradition and stardom, battling stereotypes and personal demons. His untimely death at just 31 sent shockwaves through Hollywood, sparking mass hysteria and solidifying his legend. Rudolph Valentino wasn't just charming, he was mesmerizing, mysterious, and immortalized as cinema's first great seducer. He didn't just steal scenes, he stole hearts, and even a century later, his legacy of allure still lingers like perfume in the air. Clark Gable. With that devilish smirk, effortless confidence, and voice like smooth bourbon, Clark Gable wasn't just a movie star, he was Hollywood royalty. Crowned the king of Hollywood, Gable's charm was undeniable and unapologetic. In Gone with the Wind, as the unforgettable Rhett Butler, he redefined what it meant to be both a rogue and a romantic. Audiences were drawn to his magnetic mix of masculinity and mischief. He could raise one eyebrow and steal an entire scene. Off-screen, Gable's charm was just as potent. He was rugged yet refined, tough yet tender, with an appeal that spanned generations. Whether dressed in a tux or dust-covered in westerns, he made charisma look natural, not rehearsed. Even his flaws only seemed to add to his mystique. Behind the bravado was a man who served in World War II, loved deeply, and never took stardom for granted. Clark Gable didn't follow Hollywood, he led it. And in an era filled with charmers, he stood tall as the boldest, smoothest, and most unforgettable of them all. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was charm in its most vulnerable form, raw, soulful, and hauntingly beautiful. While many stars of Hollywood's golden age dazzled with bravado, Clift captivated with emotional depth and quiet intensity. With his piercing eyes, chiseled features, and tender voice, he brought a new kind of masculinity to the screen, one that felt real, complex, and deeply human. In films like A Place in the Sun and From Here to Eternity, Clift didn't just play characters. He became them, bearing his soul with a sincerity that left audiences breathless. He wasn't the loudest or the flashiest, but his inner turmoil and magnetic sensitivity made him unforgettable. Off-screen, Clift was a private and deeply introspective figure, battling personal demons with the same intensity he brought to his roles. But even in his struggles, there was an undeniable elegance to him, a fragility wrapped in strength. Montgomery Clift redefined charm not as perfection, but as authenticity. He showed the world that being emotionally open could be just as powerful, and just as irresistible, as any Hollywood smile. Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson was the embodiment of classic Hollywood charm, tall, strikingly handsome, with a grin that could disarm anyone. On screen, he was the perfect leading man, smooth, masculine, and endlessly likable. Whether starring in swoon-worthy romances like Pillow Talk or dramatic epics like Giant, Hudson delivered every role with a mix of strength and tenderness that made him both a heartthrob and a household name. He had that rare quality, a blend of warmth and star power, that made audiences feel like they knew him personally. Women adored him, men wanted to be him, and the camera simply loved him. But behind the scenes, Hudson carried a secret life, navigating fame while hiding his true identity in a conservative era. Despite the pressures, he remained gracious, professional, and endlessly charismatic. Later in life, his brave battle with AIDS broke taboos and reshaped how Hollywood viewed vulnerability and strength. Rock Hudson wasn't just charming because of how he looked. He was charming because of how deeply human he was. A golden age icon who defined elegance and redefined courage. Paul Newman. Paul Newman wasn't just a movie star. He was a force of nature, with a charm that radiated from the inside out. With piercing blue eyes, a chiseled jaw, and a quiet confidence, Newman possessed a cool, effortless charisma that made him irresistible on screen. But it wasn't just his looks that captivated audiences. It was his ability to play a complex mix of tough, brooding characters and lovable anti-heroes. In classics like The Hustler and Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid, Newman's charm came from his authentic, no-nonsense approach to acting. A man who could be both rebellious and deeply human at the same time. Off-screen, he exuded a rare combination of intellectualism and humility, establishing himself as a philanthropist, race car driver, and entrepreneur. His commitment to social causes, particularly with his Newman's Own brand, showed that his charm extended far beyond Hollywood. Paul Newman didn't just act, he embodied the essence of cool, integrity, and heart. His legacy isn't just one of charisma, but of a life well lived, both on and off screen. Gregory Peck. With his tall frame, deep voice, and commanding presence, Gregory Peck was the epitome of dignity and charm. His classic good looks were matched only by the integrity and vulnerability he brought to every role. Whether portraying the Honorable Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird or the conflicted Captain Ahab in Moby Dick, Peck's performances radiated a quiet yet undeniable power. His charm wasn't the flashy, attention-grabbing kind. It was understated, rooted in a sense of moral strength and sincere authenticity. Audiences didn't just admire him, they trusted him, whether he was playing a hero or a man struggling with his own demons. Off-screen, Peck was just as magnetic, a man of great character who advocated for social justice and used his platform to support causes that mattered to him. His humility, kindness, and commitment to his craft made him beloved both in Hollywood and beyond. Gregory Peck's charm wasn't just in his appearance, but in his ability to connect with the heart and soul of every character he portrayed. Robert Taylor. With his smoldering good looks, Robert Taylor was the quintessential leading man of Hollywood's golden age, tall, handsome, and effortlessly charming. Whether portraying a dashing knight in Quo Vadis or a complex, morally conflicted character in The High Wall, Taylor's appeal was magnetic. He wasn't just a pretty face. His performances exuded a cool confidence and depth that made him stand out. His deep, resonant voice, paired with his intense screen presence, made him a favorite among both men and women. Taylor's charm wasn't just about his external beauty. It was about the strength of his character and the quiet vulnerability he often conveyed. Off-screen, he was known for his professionalism and dedication to his craft, maintaining a reputation as one of the hardest-working actors in the industry. Despite his fame, Taylor's personal life remained relatively private, adding to the air of mystery that only enhanced his allure. Robert Taylor wasn't just charming because of his looks. He had the kind of timeless, effortless charisma that made him a Hollywood icon.